Hello everyone and welcome to another Heroes of the Grid Ranger video. Today I'm going to be talking about Jen Scots, the Time Force Pink Ranger. Now Jen has the general layout of most Rangers for her combat deck, in that she has 3 3-shield cards, 4 2-shield cards, and 3 1-shield cards. Starting with her character card, and actually before I get into that, I did notice in my last couple of videos, the Tommy ones, I didn't really talk too much about what their role in the team is, what kind of strategy you want to play with them. I did more so with Mighty Morphin Green because his original ability, Loner, kind of speaks for itself. But in terms of Mighty Morphin White, I didn't really get into detail on that. So when I cover this whole team that I'm doing right now, once I get to that video, I'll go back and talk more about Mighty Morphin Green and White in terms of the roles they play in the team. Now that I got that out of the way, let's talk about Jen Scots. Her character ability is Contingency. Its ability reads, at the start of each battle, you may choose 2 enemy cards of the same type, Foot Soldier, Monster, Boss, etc., and swap their positions in the combat sequence. Now, it does actually just say Foot Soldier, Monster, and Boss, but that also extends to Nemesis cards too, because those just weren't around when this card first came out. That applies to them as well. As long as it's the exact same type of card, you can switch their positions on the board. And based on this, you can see that Jen's cards are very much based on putting things in certain places to make the most out of them. It doesn't necessarily have to be cards or figures, but you'll see as we go through her deck. She's also, like Kimberly, an energy generator. She's able to generate a decent amount of energy for the team, and between that and her ability to move to kind of play around with where things are located, she can be a very powerful asset. So her first card is Warp Vector. 0 cost, 2 dice attack, with 3 shields for defense. Choose 1 card from your discard pile and place it on top of your deck. For 0 cost, you get to roll 2 dice, and you get a card from your discard pile, put it back on top of your deck. So if it's a 3 shield, maybe the other Warp Vector that's in your deck, place that on top. You can kind of potentially keep, kind of loop them, but since you most likely won't be able to draw the other Warp Vector, the ones you just put back on top, you really can't necessarily loop it, but if nothing else, you can put it back on top of your deck and say, I'll take the next attack, especially if it's only going to be like a 2 damage, so you know this second Warp Vector will go to the bottom of the deck. Solid card. Her next card is Covering Fire, a 1-cost reaction with 2 shields for defense. Its ability says, play this card when another ranger plays a maneuver. Roll 2 dice and deal that much damage to an enemy card of your choice. So I know maneuvers have a reputation of not really being the best cards in the game. In fact, actually, most people consider them the worst types of ranger cards in the game. So this is kind of a way to balance that out a little bit. Whenever a ranger plays a maneuver, let's say Tommy plays his Guardian Armor, gains 2 energy, and normally that would be the end of the turn, but with Covering Fire here, you can spend one of those energies you just gained to roll 2 dice and deal the damage to an enemy card of your choice. And since it's a reaction card, it's not targeting anything, you can bypass the guard keyword. You can choose any target on the field. You probably only get 2 damage at most, but you may get super lucky and roll double criticals and get 4 damage on a card, potentially take out a monster card or even just a Foot Soldier. Her next card is Overclock. A 0 cost, 2 dice attack with 1 shield for defense. Its ability says discard another card from your hand, then gain 1 energy for each shield on that card. So you play this for nothing, roll 2 dice, and let's say you discard your Warp Vector. If you had 2 Warp Vectors in your hand, you could play Overclock, discard one of them to gain 3 energy, do the attack, and then on your next turn you could play the Warp Vector, the other Warp Vector in your hand, to get another 2 dice attack and put the original Warp Vector back on top of your deck. So, I mean, it's a basic combo, but it helps keep her deck from running out too fast. And it's a great way to get energy, actually. 3 energy, potentially, for nothing. It's awesome. Next is her Chrono Saber card. A 1-cost, 3 dice attack. Its ability says... 2 shields for defense. Its ability says, if this attack defeats the target, gain 2 energy. So this is a card you want to play... Well, you most likely want to play when you're pretty sure you're going to defeat the enemy that you're targeting, because there's a net gain of 1 energy. You spend 1 to gain 2. And if you're somehow able to lower the cost of Chrono Saber, let's say with Tommy's Dragon Solo, it's a 0 cost, and if you defeat the target, you gain 2 energy. So that's just very good energy gathering right there. Next is Chrono Blaster. Chrono Blaster is the Blade Blaster for the Time Force Rangers. Chrono Blaster is a 2 cost, 3 damage attack card, so you don't roll any dice for it. It just does an automatic 3 damage. 1 shield for defense. Its ability says you may divide the damage from this attack among any number of targets. So this is a potentially better Blade Blaster depending on how much energy you have. Because if you were to spend 3 energy for Blade Blaster, you'd get the same amount of damage for the same ability, with the same ability. So you're kind of, in that sense, if you're only going to do 3 damage, Chrono Blaster is a better card to use. But if you have more than 3 energy you want to spend, then Blade Blaster is the way to go. Still, a guaranteed 3 damage. Guaranteed damage in this game is great, no matter how much energy you have to pay for it usually. So being able to deal 3 damage and split it among a number of targets. Again, like Blade Blaster, you cannot choose an enemy card that's being guarded because you have to target it. It's an attack card that targets. But if the Foot Soldier is the one that's guarding an enemy card, you'll most likely take it out because most Foot Soldier cards have 3 health or less. And that one I'm sure of. Unless, by one of its has some weird ability that gives it extra health, or if it's an elite Foot Soldier, 99% of Foot Soldiers have 3 health or less. So you can take out guaranteed Foot Soldier with this most of the time. Finally, the last card in her deck is her power weapon, the V5 Blaster, which is a 3 cost, 4 dice attack with 3 shields for defense. Its ability reads, before rolling, add 1 die to this attack for each energy remaining in the shared pool. This is another card that kind of plays with gens where things are located. Let's say this is the first card you play when the battle starts. You have all 5 Rangers with you in the battle. If all the Rangers put their energy in the pool, that's 7 in the pool. You spend 3 to play V5 Blaster. You lose 3, so now you still have 4 left in the shared pool, and this becomes an 8 dice attack. Unfortunately, it doesn't bypass the guard keyword, and you can't re-roll anything, but odds are with 8 dice you're not going to really need to re-roll your dice, as you'll probably get the damage that you need for whatever you're attacking. A really powerful card, another prime target for Overclock too. You can play Overclock to discard your V5 Blaster, gain 3 energy, and then play Warp Vector to put V5 Blaster back on top of your deck to either block a non-coming attack, or if you're able to somehow draw it so you can play it later, because now you have 3 energy in the pool. So yeah, a lot of potential with the V5 Blaster. And one thing actually I didn't really touch on in terms of Overclocked and Warp Vector, those are also cards where Jen likes to move things around. Overclocked puts a card from your hand into the discard pile, and you'll want to do that in order to not only just gain the energy, but so you can use Warp Vector to put it back on top of your deck. Like I said, depending on whether you're planning on taking an attack, or if you're able to draw that card back and kind of manipulate your deck a little bit with these cards. And in terms of the V5 Blaster, yeah, like I said, as long as all the energy's in the shared pool, then the V5 Blaster gets powered up. So you want to make sure that all the Rangers put their energy into the shared pool to make the most of this attack. Now let's move on to her Zord, which is Time Flyer 5. Its ability says, exhaust this card to allow a Ranger of your choice to play a card in a battle taking place in another location, as though they were in that location. So basically this allows any Ranger to play a card regardless of where they're located, a combat card. Now, you can only do it once, unfortunately, but let's say that one of your teammates had to go and clear some Foot Soldiers in order to unpanic a location because all locations were getting close to being panicked. But unfortunately, they used up all his actions, so he can't join you in the fight. Let's say he was Mighty Morphin Green Tommy. Because of his vulnerability, he wanted to take out some putties, but he used up all of his actions, so now he can't join you in fighting the monster. Jen could use her Time Flyer 5, and Tommy could play, let's say, his Dagger Solo from his location that he's at, so to lower the cost for all the other Rangers, even though he's not there, which is fantastic. So there's lots of potential with this card, but it just does take a little planning in order to use it most efficiently. Still, it's a really good ability. The full breakdown for Jen's deck is that she has 2 copies of Warp Vector, 2 copies of Covering Fire, 2 copies of Overclock, 2 copies of Chrono Saber, 1 copy of Chrono Blaster, and 1 copy of V5 Blaster. So like I said, Jen is kind of someone who plays around with locations. Not necessarily the location, like the locations of where figures are located, but the location of cards, energy, things like that. She also shares, like I said, Kimberly's ability to generate energy for the team, which is kind of a Pink Ranger trait that a lot of Pink Rangers have. And you'll see that as we go through more Rangers. The original 5 Mighty Morphin kind of set a standard that a lot of similar color, the Rangers of the same color, they tend to follow one of the strategies set by the Mighty Morphin team. In Pink's case, most Pink Rangers tend to generate energy for their team in some way, shape, or form. Some do it better than others. Some may not really do that at all, but for the most part, that's kind of a Pink Ranger thing. Maybe it's the joke of too much pink power. So, yeah, that's Jen Scotts. And next, I'll be talking about Lauren Shiba from Samurai, and Super Samurai, technically. She didn't show up till Season 2. But after that, I'll talk about the whole team that I used for the last few Rangers I've been discussing. And as I said in those videos, I will talk more about Mighty Morphin Green and White and the strategies you want to use with them. And of course, that can change depending on the character cards that you choose for them. But with that, please head on over to onceranger.com to check out the full card database. Affiliate links will be below, and thank you for watching.